You know, when I was little, I was told there's no such thing as monsters. This last week has proven otherwise. Today, on Further Every Day, I want us to dig into how do we respond to evil? How does a Christian reconcile evil and good coexisting? If God is good, why are people like Charlie Kirk shot in cold blood, martyred for God's name ultimately? Let's talk about that and more. Today here on Further Every Day, Jonathan Fiala sitting in the chair of philosophy. I'm joined to my right by Miss Nikki. How are you?
I am good. How are you?
Doing well. Glad to have you there.
I'm glad to be here.
Sitting in the chair of theology, and downstream we've got Luke.
Hello.
Glad to have you back here. Chair of culture. How you doing, sir?
Good, thank you.
And we got Rai, the producer guy.
Hey, guys.
Thank you for being there, buddy.
You're very welcome.
And so let's go ahead and get into it. Normally, if you are familiar with our show, you know that we normally go and we look at some founding documents. For the past 6-8 months, we've gone into founding documents of this nation in this segment, and we look at the biblical truths that are buried in founding documents. I'd like to bring forward a different kind of founding document that I believe, unfortunately, is part of the counter-America. And it really has to do with why we are where we are today. And it's the departure from God. If you might be figuring, you might be sensing it, and we're going to read some Nietzsche today. And I want to read this, not because I'm exonerating or extolling the values that Nietzsche did, but rather I would like to point out Nietzsche, just like Aldous Huxley, knew of the evil that their worldview could bring, and he warned of it. And I think it's time that we start to look back and say, you know what, even some of the more honest purveyors of secular humanism, they understood. They knew what could happen, how society could fall. And they went forward with it anyway, which is typical to the human condition. So let's go ahead and pull up the first cut, Mr. Producer. This is from The Gay Science. This is The Parable of the Madman by Friedrich Nietzsche. The Madman. Have you not heard of that madman who lit a lantern in the bright morning hours, ran to the marketplace and cried incessantly, I seek God, I seek God. As many of those who did not believe in God were standing around, just then he provoked much laughter. Has he got lost? Asked one. Did he lose his way like a child? Asked another. Or is he hiding? Is he afraid of us? Has he gone on a voyage? Immigrated? Thus they yelled and laughed. We're going to hear a little bit further what Nietzsche sees as a post-truth, post-God society, but through the lens of this madman. Next cut, Mr. Producer. The madman jumped into their midst and pierced them with his eyes. Whither is God? He cried. I will tell you, we have killed him, you and I. All of us are his murderers. Now, how did we do this? How could we drink up the sea? Who gave us the sponge to wipe away the entire horizon? That's good, Mr. Producer. What's Nietzsche asking when he says this? What is he proposing when he says this? You have killed him. We have killed him, you and I. We are his murderers, God's murderers.
I'm going to say, I mean, in that sentence, is you've taken God out of the culture. We've killed him. We no longer have to answer.
For centuries, we've believed that God was real. For millennia, mankind has understood a theonomous view of morality. It comes from a different source than man. And Nietzsche was proposing a heteronymous or even a autonomous view of morality. Hetero, other. I tell Luke what morality is. Or better yet, autonomous. Luke and I both get to choose our morality. We both get to choose our sexuality. We both get to choose our reality. We're going to get to the sexuality thing. We're going to get to the whole component. But let's zoom back from Charlie Kirk. Let's zoom back from this Ukrainian woman, Irina, who was murdered in cold blood. Let's zoom back from that. How did we get here? How did this week come to pass? It's because, to quote Nietzsche, God is dead. In scare quotes, God is not dead. We have not killed him. But however much you wish we have killed him, you can't. But you can remove the pillars, the foundation of morality, and that's why we're here. Go back to cut number 2, Mr. Producer. Who gave us a sponge to wipe away the entire horizon? What were we doing when we unchained this earth from its sun? Whither is it moving now? Whither are we moving? Away from all suns? Are we not plunging continually, backward, sideward, forward, in all directions? Is there still any up or down? If you don't have the North Star of truth, how do you reconcile good from evil? That's a question that America has today. And she should have that today.
Absolutely.
But we have people who do not know, and we're going to talk about those people. We'll get to it. Bear with us. But I want to come back to how did we get here? Mr. Producer, keep going, please. Are we not plunging continually backward, sideward, forward in all directions? Is there any up or down? Are we not straying as through an infinite nothing? Do we not feel the breath of empty space? Has it not become colder? Is not night continually closing in on us? Do we not need the light? Do we not need to light lanterns in the morning? Do we hear nothing as yet of the noise of the grave diggers who are burying God? Do we smell nothing as yet of the divine decomposition? God's too decomposed. God is dead. God remains dead, and we have killed him. This is where Nietzsche is wrong. God is not dead. God is alive, and Nietzsche is dead.
That's a good point. And so is his opinion.
It's starting to. We're starting to see it.
Yeah, the thing about history, Nietzsche is not alone. Other philosophers came up, said the same thing, and they all pass away, and the Word of God still stands. Christians are still coming to the saving, or men and women are still coming to the saving knowledge of Jesus Christ. Christians are still in the world actively praying, seeking the Lord's will. But the great philosophers are dead.
The great philosophers and their philosophies are dying. You're going to see a new spiritualism rise. So, Luke, any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go where clearly the direction that we appear to be headed, and that is none other than potentially the end times. And in that case, it is prophesied that there will be godlessness in the earth. People will still stand before God. Every knee will bow. Every tongue will confess that he is God, whether they are in heaven or hell.
Correct.
At the end.
Correct. No matter what your final destination is, you've got to understand you will by nature, not by compulsion of it, but by nature. You're in God's presence. I can only imagine. I've got my answer for you, Bart. You're going to hit a knee. Now, someday, we will dance in God's presence. But when you first come in, you're going to hit the knees. And it's not a kneel before Zod Superman moment. No. It is you walk in and you are compelled by nature. Water falls, rocks sit, you will kneel.
I think it's also true reality. You come into the presence of the Lord, you are going to realize really quick how unworthy you really are.
Amen.
And even for the Christian who is pursuing Christ and living in the Spirit and, really having that strong walk before the Lord, they're still going to be on their face. We are still going to be on our face, trembling at, oh my goodness, here, everybody thought I was such a good person, but I'm standing before the real righteous, holy one, and I am undone.
Correct. Correct. And this comes in from I'm not here. If you're one of our regular listeners, hundreds of thousands of downloads on the audio, thank you. YouTube, Rumble, you can find us there at Further Every Day. But you can, if you're one of our regular listeners and you're not on PSB's D Live, Rumble, or Vaughn.live at 1 to 3 Central, you can live chat. And this comes from I'm not, as in the tree, I'm not here. It's a cute name. When the world goes the way it is, that is God letting people know. Choose now, please. I totally agree. It is God. God is a inevitable force, and His holiness is inevitable. It's a matter of conforming yourself to it or suffering the consequences. It's not something that God chose outside of making free will agents who would choose. But when you've detethered yourself from reality, you can have this idea that God is dead. In that you now have to pick out morality. And we have experimented with allowing this idea, Christians, we've allowed this idea along with Sharia law, along with a number of biomedical implications. We've allowed these things to kind of sit idle in our culture. And right now we're dealing with the rot that has developed. You don't see the rot immediately from the 1950s and 1960s when we started to allow this free reign in our culture. It's taken the better part of a century, but it's here. We're watching it. And Nietzsche actually, in a moment of clarity, goes on to say this, cut number 3, Mr. Producer. How shall we comfort ourselves, the murderers of all murderers? What was holiest and mightiest of all the world has yet owned, has bled to death under our knives. Who will wipe this blood off of us? What water is there for us to clean ourselves? What festivals of atonement? What sacred games shall we have to invent? What's he saying here?
Well, in that one sense, it's like, how do we redeem ourselves?
How do we even know what to do now with no God? What new festivals of atonement, what sacred games shall we invent? You want to know the festivals of atonement? They're the pride parades that are out in the street. The glory, the glorification. We were talking earlier today. It's the glorification of self.
Yes.
And even in the church, and I'm sorry, a lot of you, I'm not trying to be at all judgy or harsh, but I will be truthful with you. A lot of the worship music that we listen to, okay, I'm a non-Protestant Christian, okay? And I get it, okay? But a lot of the music that we listen to, even in Christian circles, is self-glorifying more than it is God-glorifying. A lot of the culture that's around us is self-glorifying. So we've invented this idea, this new theology of self-actualization, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? We have invented this instead of duty to God, duty to family, and duty to king and country. Like instead of having that, it's this: we are the world. We are all hyper-atomized individuals whose self-pursuit, the autonomous view of reality and morality, my truth, my morality, instead of it being tethered to a theonomous view, it is an autonomous or a heteronymous view. Either we, the pack, choose what's good, or I myself choose what's good. The problem is, if Luke and I both have our own autonomous morality, there's going to come a day where we bump into each other and we have a clash. If we're both saying we believe that I can choose my reality, I punch Luke. Luke's reality is what? If I say Luke should like that, and you don't, then what is reality? It's not what I say over Luke. The whole idea of autonomous morality breaks down when you have a man and a woman in a dark alley, and the man has bad ideas at 2 a.m.
I think going back to the example of I punch Luke. I think we're in a society where I punch Luke. Luke deserves it. I'm justified.
Yeah.
And that's the danger. I think that becomes the danger is when we have a misguided I'm justified in what I'm doing, therefore I'm right, without the backdrop of God's holiness and goodness and mercy. So these promoting of self is creating an idol to yourself and lifting yourself up beyond God's morality.
Correct. So just to continue, let's continue with cut number 3, Mr. Producer. Is not the greatest of this deed too great for us? Must we ourselves not become gods simply to appear worthy of it? There has never been a greater deed, and whoever is born after us for the sake of this deed will belong to a higher history than all history hitherto. When you kill God, scare quotes, who's God? Who is the arbiter of morality? And that's what he's saying. Kind of horrific, because now it is acceptable. It's my truth that Charlie Kirk was a monster. Therefore, I accept, or even I will be instrumental in his death. That's where that leads. It's only a matter of time. We're watching the rot. Next cut, Mr. Producer. Here the madman fell silent and looked again at his listeners, and they too were silent and stared at him in astonishment. At last he threw his lantern on the ground, and it broke into pieces and went out. I have come too early, he said then. My time is not yet. This tremendous event is still on its way and still wandering. It has not yet reached the ears of men. Lightning and thunder require time, and the light of the stars requires more time. Deeds, though done, still require time to be seen and heard. This deed is still more distant from them than the distant stars, and yet they had done it themselves. In the 1800s, we accepted a lot of moral fallacies, and I'm not going to get on to the denominational route right now, but some denominations we started debating the inerrancy of Scripture. Okay, we started attacking what was considered the majority, fully understood manuscripts of the Bible, and now we have could be possibly, by the way, the oldest Bible in the world. Not the oldest Bible. I'm sorry. That's incorrect. The 2 oldest Bibles dated much later than the 300s AD. Sorry, not 4th century Bibles. But we accepted that as a church, and now we're on the shifting sand of new translation, new translation, new translation, new translation, and we're trying to rediscover the autographs. That's happened in the church. We have this whole new idea of evolutionary biology that's unguided by any process. By the way, shifting is a sand. Be careful if you accept that, because ever-changing, ever-changing, ever-changing. We have this idea that morality is somehow ever-changing.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And it all came out of the
yes.
1800s.
And I will say, in some regard, and I don't want to... I do believe that we feel like morality is ever changing. It used to be considered wrong for 2 people to live together.
Correct.
Okay? So 1800s, you can find people that live together, but it wasn't looked on.
It wasn't socially accepted.
It was not socially accepted.
And the church had discipline.
Yes. And then again, we can go back to slavery, and it was socially acceptable to
own another human and
yes,
treat them like
wrong.
dirt.
And the Bible corrects both of those things. People were forsaking parts of the Bible to justify slavery. And you can't do it. It's just as well as you can't ignore parts of Scripture to live unmarried together. You have to take all of Scripture.
And it has to be fully embraced. Your faith is, James says, our faith is made alive by our works. It is
yes.
proven to be
yes.
alive by our works, or it's not faith.
Correct.
It's not the same thing. And we as a church, we've dropped church discipline on the ground. It's gotten a bad name. And I told someone recently this, and he looked horrified at me. And I said, well, let me give you an example. That someone is sleeping around at church. Mm-hmm. And Paul, there's actually, in the Corinthians, if you read the Corinthians, first letter of Corinthians, Paul says there's a guy, he's doing sexual misdeeds, cut him out of the congregation until he comes back. Say, you are not allowed to be in here if you are doing these things. And this person looked at me in horror, good Christian man, looked at me in horror, and I said, did you read 2 Corinthians? Paul commends that the man is back in the fellowship. That's how church discipline works. It's not to harm someone. It's saying it's to redeem. It's to pull them back. It's saying you can't keep living like this.
And it's not done. In my understanding, one or two go to him privately. So it would be church leadership going to him privately and saying, "We know about this,
correct,
and we're trying to take care of this secretly." We had I've been in a church where a man was, I think, committing adultery, and they went to him, a deacon and the pastor went to him privately, refused to do anything about it, and then he was called out and no longer part of the church because he made his choice, but it was done in a quiet, private manner without bringing it out publicly.
But because we haven't done that, half the people on social media screaming into their phones, "I love the death of Charlie Kirk," they go to a church regularly. They're regularly part of a church.
Yeah.
And because we've diluted the name of Christ.
Well, we diluted the Bible.
We diluted the Bible.
Yeah, we've diluted the Bible. I mean, Charlie Kirk was not, he was aggressive about his faith. He was aggressive about Scripture. And, my friend on Facebook this week put, "My faith manages my politics."
Yeah.
Okay, wake up, Christians. Did you hear that? Let's say it again. My faith manages my politics.
100%.
Amen.
And God is the author of government. So if you are taking a back seat to politics, you have a problem with your faith and understanding in Christ. Charlie Kirk may have offended a lot of people, but he didn't offend God. He was managing his politics on his faith.
Correct. And Dawn of a New Day in the live chat on PSB on D Live said, look at the you taking up your cross is dying to your sin. It's taking your vices and you nail those to the cross daily, moment by moment. You say, I will die to my own desires and I will live for Christ. That is what it is. That is what your cross is. It's not having a husband that snores, right? It's like, oh, that's my cross to bear. Oh, no. You're missing it. Your cross
now, John
to
Arthur,
bear.
if you haven't gotten sleep for a couple hours and your husband's snoring, you might feel it's a cross to bear.
I have gone long-term backpacking and canoeing. I know
Lord.
exactly what it is. I have been shipboard with people for weeks who snore. I know exactly what that is like. Like really loud.
Right in my ears.
Really loud. Yeah, sorry, right in your ear hole. I'm sorry, everyone. So I'm not here, Ephesians 5:11, and have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness, but rather reprove them. 100%. 100%. So let's finish this, and then we're going to move into some of the news. If you've been living under a rock, we'll cover a couple of things. But I want to bring the apologetic minute. How do we speak to this as Christians? So bring up the last cut, number 5, Mr. Producer, just to finish the madman. It has been related further that on the same day, the madman forced his way into several churches and there struck up his requiem Aeternam Deo. Let out and called to account, he is said always to have replied nothing but, what after all these churches now, if they are not the tombs and sepulchres of God? He's not entirely wrong. In this sense, you go to Europe and all of the churches that he's talking about, they are dead. This thought process, this secular humanism, they are dead. The sepulchres of God. Now, if God was just an idea, Nietzsche would be correct. But what we have erected, the new games and the new festivals of atonement, the new parades that we raise to God have been to self.
Yeah.
It's been reality TV, drag shows, etc. That these are the acts of the new religion that has come out. So if you haven't watched yet, there's a lot of stuff going around about the gunman. We don't know if he acted alone yet. We have a strong suspicion that he acted alone. Look, guys, it's better to be right than it is to be first, to have an opinion.
Right.
I think we need to be aware. So, Mr. Producer, if you could pull this up and we'll commentate over it. This is cut number 6. This is the video that was discovered. Go ahead. This is the video that was discovered or caught, rather, off the security cam. You may have a hard time seeing it, but you can see him running across this the rooftop here. My question is, further going on, moving into the new world that we're living in, we need to have, where were the drones run by security watching for this? I'm not dogging on security. We're just in a whole new world. This needs to be thought of. And if you look really closely at this, you can actually see what looks like a rifle and a towel that he grabs. And then when he drops down, he's laying it down on the eave, and now he's dropping down. And it looks like he grabs that, and you can see it kind of swinging next to him, and then he drops. So after this, he went and ditched the rifle, and he messaged someone, one of his 2 roommates, who we'll get to in just a moment, on Discord about the drop site. So Discord says that it was really about a note. It was a note. So Discord claims that they have no connection and there was no planning done. More or less. This guy was pretty clean, and he probably would have got away with it too if it hadn't been for family and his roommates encouraging him to turn himself in. So what do we do with this? Thank you, Mr. Producer. Well, a couple things. Like I just said, we need to change security standards. But also, we need to start to rethink. We've been in good faith talking on college campuses. This show, we've talked about taking this and doing something called Does the Bible Really Say? We need to rethink how we interact with the public, because they're no longer... The left is no longer acting in any sort of good faith motive. They've been, and you brought this up, Nikki. You brought this up. Nick Freitas made the point. He said for years it was sexist, racist, bigot, and then it was your words are violence. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And now...
Oh, and I love this. I don't feel safe.
I don't feel safe.
I don't feel safe.
What do you mean you don't feel safe?
Yeah. And so if you're saying words are violence, because you're saying we don't want you to kill babies in the womb, and we don't want you to harm children with chemicals,
with irreparable surgeries.
Yes, or chemicals.
Yeah.
And make them, where they'll never be able to have children or live a normal life before they're at a certain age. That is not hate speech. We may disagree with you, but the underlying thing is we want children in the womb to live, and we want young children who may be confused about their gender to work it out where they still have opportunity to have children and have a normal lifestyle. Those are not hate. But when you lose the ability to debate your side, you've got to come up with something else.
Indeed. And some people are going to say, what a waste. I don't agree. Sugar Magnolia 78 regularly comments on Rumble. Thank you for your comments. Everything works out for the good of those who love God. Charlie's voice is bigger and louder now than before he passed. My friend at church said that she is ashamed she didn't know who he was before, but she does now. You're looking at a martyr. And I don't just mean in the sense of he's a martyr for a cause. He's a martyr for the cause of Christ. Let's really be clear. Charlie Kirk died because he was an effective witness and testimony to truth. And he always brought it back to the gospel.
Yes, he did.
I might have always been a little bit, I wish he'd be a little bit stronger on that. I wish he'd be a little bit harder. But Charlie was about building coalitions. And he was effective. That's why he's dead.
He was effective. And he had a reach. My goodness, I mean, the people in political positions, he really had a reach, even in other countries.
Correct.
So, and it was not based on anything outside of his faith. He let his faith manage his politics.
And we saw how powerful that could be.
You know, it's not popular to be a young man that says get married and have lots of children.
No, it's not. It's considered misogynistic.
And it's not popular to say men and women have different roles. It's not popular.
It's hard to find, 3 men in this room are looking to have kids on some level. Mm-hmm. It's hard to find a woman who actually wants to have kids.
Yes, it is.
Most of them, it's like, oh, you want me to be a baby maker? It's like, no, I want to find someone who wants to make babies, and I want us to pair together in a calling.
Yes.
I'm not looking for a thing. I'm looking for a partner in a calling.
Yeah.
If you are not part of that calling, sayonara. Sorry to bug you. But we're looking for someone who will partner with us in God's work. So let's look a little bit at the issue of incitement, because silence is violence. Words are violence.
Yes.
And your ideas are violent. Let's look at how they've been responding to this for years. And some of y'all will remember this. This is, I think this is 7 years ago, 6 or 7 years ago. Go ahead and pull up cut number 7, Mr. Producer.
And they're taking away fundamental rights. I want to tell you, Gorsuch, I want to tell you, Kavanaugh, you have released the whirlwind, and you will pay the price.
Thank you, Mr. Producer. So let's hear how he responded to this. That was a few years ago. If your memory, I'm old enough to remember the Kavanaugh confirmations. Let's try it then and then it now. Let's see what he's saying now.
Can we get your reaction to President Trump blaming the radical left for what happened to Charlie Kirk yesterday?
Well, look, the bottom line is this is a time that all Americans should come together and feel and mourn what happened. Violence, which affects so many different people of so many different political persuasions, is an affliction of America. And coming together is what we ought to be doing, not pointing fingers of blame.
This moment requires leadership that brings the American people together as opposed to trying to further divide us. Political violence in any form against any American is unacceptable, should be denounced by everyone, and moving forward, we have to figure out a better way to come together, not as Democrats or Republicans, but as Americans.
Thank you, Mr. Producer. Here's the problem with that. It sounds great. But look at what their theological or philosophical premise is here. We all need to come together, and we need to come together and have unity. Around what? Unity around what? What common ground do I have with Chuck Schumer? Abortion on demand, 9 months, baby's heads out, baby's born, left to die on the operating table if the mom doesn't want the child. Doing cross-sex hormones before children are at Tanner stage 2, where they will never, if you have kids in the room, close their ears. You have 5 seconds, 4 seconds, 3, 2, 1. They'll never have an orgasm in their life if you give them the chemicals before they're at Tanner stage 2 of development. They will never have sexual pleasure. Okay, you can open your kids' ears. You have people who believe in a 90% tax rate. What common ground do I have with you, Chuck Schumer? Oh, and by the way, you believe that you can call me a Nazi for not going along with those things. Who are we, and what gods must we become? No, there is one God. You are masquerading as a God, and I cannot have unity with evil. You need to change. You need to change, not us. We don't need to change. The Christian conservative right does not need to change.
The Christian conservative right cannot change.
It stops being the church when it changes. And I'm not calling Republicans the church, okay?
Yeah.
I'm not. But I'm saying the church itself, which is the base composite, the base of this composite, which we call the Republican or the conservative movement, cannot change by definition. If it does, it is no longer what it is. and we're the ones that built the country. And we're not, despite what you're seeing, and we're trying to pull together a good apologetic on political violence is inherently right wing. Not true. 58% they say not true. The ADL and these other folks who come out with these statistics, not true. Absolutely not true. And the biggest part is they don't count bombing Michael Knowles' university appearance, not on there. The school that was shot this week, not on there as an act of left-wing violence. There's a manifesto, and it's not set up. It's not logged by these NGOs who are getting USAID type funds, whether they're USAID or something else. These NGOs who put together these statistics, which are chanted over and over and over again, they're not counting the acts of leftist violence.
And they do that. They do that intentionally so they can give you a poll that follows their ideology.
Correct. So it is absolutely not predominantly on the right. It is not. Just go through your minds. And they're going to say, well, what about the 2 Democrats who were shot by a Democrat?
Yeah, nobody here thinks that was a good idea.
No one here said, well, I'm not going to get to that just yet. We're going to get to it in a second. None of us celebrated.
No.
None of us celebrated that. None of us thought that was good. None of us have ever, and by the way, fight like hell, that is different categorically. And I want to go through that than what we're about to pull up here. This is cut number 9, Mr. Producer. This is Jasmine Crockett.
No.
But this is a war. This isn't a battle. And we absolutely will win this war.
It is a war. It is indeed a war. And I have to say, they have won some battles, Jasmine, but we have to keep our eye on the war, and everybody needs to pick up a weapon and get involved, because this is for the safety and lasting of the country.
Pause. Thank you, Mr. Producer. Now, I'm going to say something. If that was in a vacuum, I'd let it go. If that was in a vacuum, I would let it go. But it's also in the same soup as Nazis. Go make yourself hurt. Go make them miserable. Go confront them. Someone needs to punch him. We've lived in a state of incitement to violence for the last 15, 16, 18 years. And if you want to look at the stats, there's a stat floating around. I don't have it here in the show map deck, but I'll just say violence in America by race, it goes up in 2014. Trayvon Martin. He could have been my son, would have looked like me. It's the white people's fault. You want to know when things started getting really bad? Is when we started putting the secular Marxist ideas into the public, and we started chanting it over and over and over again. We've been living in a state of incitement for years. This is not free speech. This is not what you mean. Free speech is not incitement to violence. By the way, most of you listening, God bless you, a lot of us libertarians, recovering libertarian here, would be appalled if you realized that we had anti-blasphemy laws when the founding fathers wrote the Constitution. You'd be appalled at what people brought out. But if you think about it long enough, you start to say, because when I first realized this, late 1800s, Luke, are you familiar with this case? Anti-blasphemy lawsuit against a man. The government sued this individual for publishing an anti-biblical publication where he derided the Bible as a degenerate, stupid thing. And they took it all the way up to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court decided against the man publishing anti-biblical rhetoric. And their opinion was, you cannot attack the character, the base for the character of the foundation of this nation. You cannot attack that, because there are people who hear. You don't live in a vacuum. Did you ever know that?
I did not, but I do believe that a lot of people today have said, oh, they're wrong because separation of church and state.
And that's nowhere in the Constitution, by the way.
The Danbury letters were written saying, we are not going to change how you worship.
Well, and
speaking about the church instituted by the state.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
keep going.
I was just going to say, but if you ask the average person, separation of church and state, they think it's constitutional. They have no idea that did not even come into play
into
until
the 40s.
Right.
And it
Yes.
was a misreading of the Danbury letters that a liberal Supreme Court justice put out there. What Jefferson said when he said separation of church and state is, you have the right, the state cannot speak about how you worship, because there was a state, not federal, state-sponsored church that the Danbury Baptists were concerned about. And they said, we have a state-sponsored church. Is that going to be a problem? And Jefferson goes, no. This is not like the Brits, where we had a federal enforcement of the Anglican religion. That's the word that they used, religion, when they're talking about denominations. It was the Quaker religion, the Anglican religion, the Wesleyan religions. That's what they taught. That's how they quoted that for years. They said the religion of it, denomination.
Help me, because this is the way I remember this letter. Was the conversation was, it's like a one-way wall. The faith of the people can influence the politics, but the politics cannot influence the faith of the people.
Correct. It should not be used to cram that down and force it.
So if that was communicated correctly today,
It would radically change.
It would shock a lot of people. That's not, number one, it's not in the Constitution, and it was taken out of context.
Correct.
And we've embraced it today.
Correct. And so all in the name of this Orwellian secularist state that we're starting to see form. And thank God that, look, I'm glad President Trump's in, and I think we have a little stay. But if Kamala Harris were president today, just imagine, this would be twisted, and we wouldn't even know that the shooter, very likely, those of us on the internet who were searching things and trying to find out, we still would not be hearing it, hearing the news that this guy was a left-wing extremist. We wouldn't hear that. We would hear that he was MAGA. And a lot of these people are still running that he's MAGA.
And that doesn't
MAGA.
make any sense.
There's also the factor that the parents were apparently Republican. And a lot of people make that assumption because the parents were, and he's early 20s.
Living with his boyfriend.
Right.
Who's a
trans.
So, and we're going to get to that. But so let's look at how people are reacting to this, because I do want to put this out, and I want to put a little defense for Charlie Kirk. We're an apologetics channel. This is how you defend the faith. This is how you defend yourself. Let's hear what some of these people are saying and how they're saying it. Mr. Producer, if you can go ahead and pull up cut number 10 for me, please.
Anybody who is a white supremacist gets sniped. I hope all of them get sniped. I hope more of them get sniped. I hope they come and burn their homes down to the ground. Like, honestly, it could have been worse. It should have been worse. Why not just wipe out the whole bloodline? Wipe it out.
Thank you, Mr. Producer. There's a problem with that, young lady. That's called incitement to violence. And this is where it hits. I'm sorry, just one thing, and I want you to go. Our government is not enforcing the law. FBI, where are you? That woman just incited to violence. That's not free speech. You can't say burn it down, kill them all, whack them, wipe them out. You can't say that.
Take out the bloodline. That says a lot right there if you understand the meaning of that. But you know what? The FBI is pretty busy right now. There's a lot going on. Give them time. She might get hers.
I hope they do.
That's pretty rough stuff. And
if you thought that was bad, we got more. Mr. Producer, number 11, please. Here's the truth. This woman says, she went on to go and say that there's no empathy. I couldn't listen to her any longer. Charlie Kirk says he doesn't believe in empathy. That was her claim she went on to make. Couldn't listen to it. If you're going to use this quote, use all of it. I can't stand the word empathy. I think empathy is a made up new age term, and it does a lot of damage. Sympathy is a better word, because empathy means you're actually feeling what another person felt. No one can feel what another person feels. I'm sorry, I cut that lady off, but I couldn't take it anymore. She goes on to say, the man didn't believe in empathy. What did Charlie Kirk actually say? I don't think you can have empathy. Not truly. Not the way that you Democrats are saying, I think you can have sympathy. but they're going to take the man out of context.
Of course. They take everything out of context.
They take everything out of context. So some of these people are getting retributive justice through the internet, thanks to folks like us and people on this panel, people who are listening. Guys, this is good. And I'm explain why this is good, why this fits the free speech model. But Mr. Producer, we're going to play a before and then an after. Go ahead. Start with number 12, please.
In the neck at his own debate rally. I try to avoid American politics if possible, but I've opened X to a bunch of little bitches crying and whinging about how political violence is never the answer. These people are gunning for politics that is inherently violent to its people. These people are gunning for politics that are inherently violent to a population. To marginalized people.
Next one.
To people who need...
Go to 13.
About Charlie Kirk ended up on Turning Point UK's Twitter account, so I need to address this because it's all getting a little out of hand. Let me firstly state that I am no longer at the Petticoat Emporium.
Thank you.
My stall has been removed. About
That's
Charlie
good.
Kirk.
That's good. So she goes on to put up the address. I don't want to do the whole thing, but it's just that one piece. She goes, "Hey, it's a good thing. I'm glad that Charlie Kirk is dead. By the way, I got to get out of this. Turning Point UK has put my video on their channel, which I put out in public. Oh, and by the way, I've lost my job. I'm no longer working at the Petticoat Emporium." What is that? How does that feather in with free speech? Can we believe in free speech and believe that this is correct?
Yes, because if you are an employer or even in any kind of sports, the character of the people that are involved with you reflects on your company.
Mm-hmm.
So she may be working there, but what she is saying is going to have a negative effect on the company, which affects their bottom line, and so they have to get rid of her for self-protection.
There's three things here, but go ahead, Luke. Your thoughts? How does that fit with free speech? Because I believe it does firmly.
How does?
How can we say, look, this person just celebrated the death of Charlie Kirk. Their employer should know. And the employer firing, I'm all for it. How could we be for that as free speech advocates?
So...
If I'm putting you on the spot, don't worry about it. No, I got you, dude. I got you. Let me tell you, because that's a hard question.
Yes.
Because there's a couple things. A, it affects the company. She's a representative of the company. Mm-hmm. And she has changed. So to Nikki's point, she has changed her value as a representative of the company.
Mm-hmm.
2, this is a sociopath. This is not someone who believes in abortion. This is not, if I hired someone, okay, I have a small company. If I hired someone and this person was pro-abortion, I'd have second thoughts, but I wouldn't necessarily fire them, right? I'd be debating it, right? Because I'm like, okay, well, what kind of person am I associated with? You have the freedom to associate. But if I had someone who said, oh, yeah, I absolutely love the fact that Charlie Kirk got murked because I'm pro-abortion. It's not that you're pro-abortion. It's that you're a sociopath. Mm-hmm. And if you're in my company, if I write you up for something, if you're lazy, which by the way, I don't know, I don't have any scientific evidence, but I think the Venn diagram of these jerks on social media who are laughing at Charlie Kirk and lazy people in the workplace, I think they probably match up pretty close. If you're a lazy butt and I write you up and you think it's acceptable for Charlie Kirk to be killed because of something that you didn't like, you're a sociopath. We've already determined that. You're a public hazard because you have no heart. You have no empathy. You have no sympathy, if that makes you feel better. You have none of it. Why would I want to associate with you?
Well, if they know where you're working, People aren't going to associate with your company.
Oh yeah, and I did want to add to this. It was like at the tip of my tongue. I think it was kind of close to being at the tip of my tongue. If somebody doesn't fire the person who is causing causing bad reputation in a company, and for this example, it shows what the company tolerates.
And
Correct.
it
changes the status of the company in the community.
Well, I think we're going to get to it eventually, but let's say that a company is a manager or something is coming out and saying that, and the company supports that person. I will not do business with that company whatsoever. I would not do business with that company whatsoever.
We want to be absolutely removed from that. 100% agree. 100% agree. So, stupid games, stupid prizes. Let's go ahead and play the next one, Mr. Producer. Just more of the folly from the internet. Cut 14, please.
So I keep on seeing like posts about this Charlie dude, whatever, Kirk dude, whatever. Regardless. And let me just say this. I'm surprised that y'all didn't get rid of him sooner. And I'm surprised that you guys aren't getting rid of more people. Like, don't stop with him. Don't let him be the end all. Get rid of them all.
Thank you. Yeah, get rid of them all.
It's just dumb.
It's just a felony.
It's more than half the country, does she realize?
It's just a felony. You're going to say something, Mr. Producer. Go ahead.
Dang it, I lost it. Give me a second.
That's okay. But, Mr. Producer said something very insightful on Wednesday when we were talking about this. He and I were together, and Luke's with us, and he says, man without God is just a monster. And look, I'm not a Calvinist. I don't believe in total depravity, but man is basically depraved.
Absolutely.
And you see.
Where does goodness come from?
Comes from the giver of goodness. It comes from the source. There's one source of goodness, and we can all benefit from that source if we decide we want to. But it's sad. So with that said, let's go ahead and go to the next one. Stupid games, stupid prizes. People like that are winning some stupid prizes. Yeah.
I'm just really glad Charlie Kirk just got himself fucking shot, because he's right. Empathy is dangerous to society. So no one should give a fuck that he's dead. He said it. I'm just saying his words.
No.
All I'm doing is using his words. You can't be mad at me for using his words.
I think
empathy is a new wave thing and is very problematic. You right. No empathy for you. Zero.
So if you're reading the notice, she was fired shortly after.
Good.
It's because you have made yourself unhireable.
Yes.
Because it's not that you're saying you're pro-trans, you're pro-LGBT, it's because you have made yourself absolutely unhireable. So let's go ahead and pull up the Fox 16. That's going to be cut number 17, Mr. Producer.
Continuing coverage now on the Charlie Kirk shooting death and what some are calling a new era of accountability as it relates to social media posts. That's how one expert describes what we're seeing right now as posts by Mid-State University and city employees result in suspensions and firings. Fox 17 News' Karen Aguilar in studio with why we likely have not heard the end of such cases.
A social media expert tells me people's outrage online over a controversial Charlie Kirk post played a significant role in the firings and suspensions. He tells me it's a turning point on how quickly we reach accountability.
The online backlash against Mid-State University and city employees' social media posts on Charlie Kirk's death ended in their firing or suspension, sometimes within hours. Like the now former MTSU Assistant Dean Laura Lightsey posting this in part, "Zero sympathy." Former Cumberland University professor Michael Rex writing, "On Charlie Kirk, karma is a beautiful expletive." A protest shortly before the firing of Rex and assistant coach Max Wood. A Metro 911 dispatcher posting a shirt in the image of Kirk getting shot saying, "Debate this." She was put on administrative leave the next day. This, as people screenshotted some of the comments and posted them online, calling for their removal. reposted dozens of times by others, including elected officials.
I feel like a lot of the nation has gotten to the point where they're like, we've gone too far.
Dr. Matt Chalmers, a social media expert, tells me the pressure of the online community contributed to the fallout.
You create this echo chamber because of the way the algorithm works.
Dr. Chalmers added, because of the scope of how social media reacted, it sped up the repercussions for the employees.
So the internet's regulating itself by saying, you guys now have consequences for your actions.
Elon Musk's takeover of Twitter, now X, increased transparency by becoming less restrictive on posts. Dr. Chalmers tells me that fuels visibility on the calls for consequences.
As we got more freedom, you're going to be held accountable for the things that you say and that you do.
Dr. Chalmers tells me he has never seen accountability at this speed, and both sides should be cautious on making emotional
Thank you, Mr. Producer.
social media posts.
So just in short, so that we kind of have, because a lot of conservatives want to backpedal on this and want to say, oh, we want to be kind, we want to be merciful, we want to be, yes, kind to whom? Merciful to whom? And I don't want these people to die. I don't want these people to have their lives ruined. But I don't want to work with you. Go work for some leftist company where you are all comfortable after you get done with your felony jail time.
Well, you've lost humanity when you talk like that. His point of do not post on social media when you're full of emotion. Get your emotions under control. Yep. I would say that is very, very wise.
Amen.
Yes, very wise to do that. Do not post on social media. Remember, everything that you post is there forever. Even if you delete it, somebody's probably already seen it, may have screenshot it, come back to haunt you later. I have a Facebook. I do not post, and that goes back to the Donald Trump's first election. And I used to post and share things, and I had a coworker approach me at my desk at work. And I went, okay, this is going too far.
Yeah.
This is going too far. And so I'm not going to do that. Now, I haven't given up my Facebook because I keep in touch with family and happy anniversary, happy birthday, that kind of stuff.
But some of these people are unhinged.
Oh, yeah.
You need to be ready. Like, you know, we all need to start packing.
2016, when you said that Trump got elected, that's when people from the left, many people from the left, started claiming, oh, this is misogyny, this is hate.
Yes.
You're a promoter of that. You guys, if you're supporters of Trump, then you're not my friends. And they kept posting it day after day after day of the election, and we could never hear the end of it from them for a couple of months.
Correct.
Well, and my daughter, it's a distant person, relative. She's never met. Okay, and I didn't see it, but she had to unfriend her. She goes, Mom, she said something about Charlie Kirk. And it was so
vile. And
she goes, I just unfriended her. I'm not going to, she goes, at first I was going to respond. And I thought, no, I don't have to do this. I just don't have to see this person.
So this is what I wanted to sum up. What's the difference between this and someone following Bernie Sanders? Like, I don't care if you follow Bernie Sanders. Fine, you're wrong, but I can live with you. What I care is do you also say, great, I'm glad that weird fellow with the weird haircut got his head blown off. Like, no. If that's your response to Charlie Kirk's martyring, you are someone that I don't want to associate with. And Michael J. put this in the comments section really, really well. He said, firing isn't enough. And I agree. For most of these are federal felonies. You are inciting to violence. That's the part where I really hope Donald Trump, and I'm calling for this, I hope that Donald Trump actually does put this out. We also published something, or we reposted what someone else said for another law, but I hope Donald Trump puts this in executive order that the DOJ is going to specifically focus on finding incitement to violence. That is clear and actionable. Not iffy stuff, but clear and actionable calls to violence, and actually have an FBI agent show up at the door, actually serve warrants. Maybe maybe some of these people actually go to jail for 2 to 4 years. And then people are going to start to think about it. I'm an anti-prison guy generally, but while we have it, I'm all for using it.
And you have the right to free speech. You don't have the right to incite violence against innocent people. You have the right to protect yourself, self-defense. You don't have the right to call for violence against people. You just don't.
Indeed.
And I don't care what side of the fence you're on, left or right, you don't.
Indeed. So that's the difference. It's not that we're quelling free speech. It's that you are calling to violence. That is the issue. And just to carry it a little bit further, if you have been living under a rock, you've missed this. I just want to cover it, but I do want to cover why this is relevant. I don't normally think it's a good idea to bring in the relatives of some of these shooters, but I do think it's relevant here. This is via Andy No. This is going to be cut number 18 and 19, Mr. Producer. Give me cut 18, then quick to 19. This is Lance Twiggs. Next one, Mr. Producer. If you could go pull us up to his bio. This is from Andy No. Unmasking Luna, quote unquote, Charlie Kirk assassin suspect's alleged lover is confirmed to be trans. I investigate this evidence confirming that Tyler Robinson's roommate, who authorities believe is actually his romantic partner, is trans. So this is someone who says that some nights the injection just effing sucks, and like it sucks so bad to have to this is the person in front of him. Sucks so bad. Seriously, sometimes it's just muscle memory. Sometimes I got to get buzzed on something so I'm not too anxious about giving myself the HRT shot. I was told I was possessed by a demon by his Mormon family, and then within 30 minutes kicked out of the house because I started laughing and wouldn't go to the bishop for a blessing, Twiggs wrote. Later found out that they just didn't like me and were looking for a way to get me out of the house, even though I wasn't 18 at the time. Twiggs, so this is in a news article based on some testimony given. Twiggs mentioned in the Utah criminal complaint against Robinson as an unnamed roommate who cooperated with the investigators after being contacted. Robinson allegedly sent his trans partner messages related to the shooting. Surveillance video of the suspected gunman near the campus shows him appearing to communicate with someone on his phone. Twiggs has not been accused of anything crime yet. You can see him on the right side of the screen in his graduation outfit in 2001, the home that he lived in below. And then, of course, Sir Lancelot, the furry profile picture there. By the way, explains, thank you, Mr. Producer, explains the writings on the bullets. Notices bulge, ooh woo. I'm sorry to assault your ears with that. But what the shooter, the alleged shooter, has on his bullets are "Catch This Fascist," some video game references, and then notices bulge, ooh woo. If you don't know what ooh woo means, it's basically an exclamation of "I am sexually aroused" at the tranny bulge. I hate to break it down that simple, but this guy is not right wing. Tyler Robinson is not right wing. He is living with his boyfriend, self-proclaimed Luna. The guy's name is Lance Twiggs. Not your right wing. Even though this individual has parents who are conservatives, this is not a conservative. And by the way, you need to watch your kids. You need to be able to answer your kids. You need to have conversations with your kids.
Yeah.
I'm not blaming his parents necessarily. It's not what I'm doing. I'm not here. I'm not interested in doing that. I don't think that would be right. The guy's a grown man. But being able to have conversations with your kids is a big deal.
Well, they may have had conversations, but his influence came from somewhere, and he chose that influence over his conservative views of his parents.
Correct.
That is a choice. He is an adult.
He's able to make that.
Let's not hold the parents accountable for the actions of the 22-year-old child.
Yeah, I totally agree.
It sounds like the family has
tried.
Yes. So,
I'm just saying it's all the more important to be able to defend your beliefs as hard as possible.
My son and I were talking about this yesterday, and my son said, "Mom, the family members turned him in." I said, "Well, son, we would turn you in too."
Yes.
We would turn you in too. And because that's character. They know they love their child. They're heartbroken. They're suffering, but they did the right thing. That's character. That's character.
So, and some people in the comments are saying it's the Mossad, it's the CIA. Guys, I agree. There's some questions that I think need to be answered. Let's be careful, because I'm sorry. Some of these things, depending, I've heard different people. I've heard some weird rabbit holes. Let's make sure that we're right instead of the first with the opinion. Let's make sure that we're right. If you have evidence, bring it.
Mm-hmm.
If you have evidence, bring it. I want to see that evidence. Speculation is no different than saying, "Oh, so and so was raped." I think it was Ryan. If I were to do that, Ryan would always have that stigma with him for the rest of his life. Let's make sure that we're right.
Yeah.
Let's make sure that we're right, because that would be an evil thing to do. Make sure that we're right on this one, on every one that we do. Because, again, I'm with you, though. There's some stuff that's fishy. More research needs to be done. I want to know more. I want to know more about Butler, Pennsylvania. I want to know more about this. Like, I want to know everything. I want the truth to come out, and I want us to have everything that we can.
You know, President Trump's not saying anything. I think they're still under the Butler
There's
thing.
more.
There's more.
There's more.
There's more going on there, and I think there's a time to be quiet when you're the DOJ or the FBI.
Oh my
because
gosh!
I don't want to hurt the case in the future.
God bless Pam Bondi, but oh my gosh, yes, there's a time to be quiet.
There's a time to be quiet.
There's a time to be quiet, and not Pam Bondi. I'm sorry, God bless her, but ugh.
I like Pam Bondi.
Yeah. So let's be careful. Let's make sure that we're right. I'm not trying to chide. I'm not trying to do anything other than let's make sure that we protect our integrity and our credibility, especially right now. There's no reason to be wrong. Let's make sure that we're right. Was Charlie Kirk homophobic? A little bit of apologetics here for a fallen fellow Christian brother. He's asked this question, and I think he answered it pretty well. Mr. Producer, if you can go ahead and throw that up, that's going to be cut number 20. He answered the question pretty well.
Is that Erica again? It is Erica again. Hi, Charlie. So since meeting you, we made friends earlier. She was homeless a year ago, and now she's thriving. How great is that, isn't it? Since meeting you a few short hours ago, I've already had numerous people remove me on Instagram and tell me they can no longer be my friends because I'm here at a free event learning both sides of the spectrum.
That's the problem.
Anyway, and I also forgot to tell you my pronouns. I identify as non-binary. Joe Biden. Live and let live. Everybody can live however they want. They can do whatever they want. And my question for you is, do you have any hate? And is Turning Point USA against the LGBT community? Because I'm being told that by coming here and listening to you speak that I'm either a racist or a fascist or against the LGBT. And isn't fascism when someone doesn't agree with your beliefs and your views and they want it either your way or the highway? Yeah, the people that defriended you on Instagram, they're the fascists. So I do not have hate for a group. I do not have hate for a people. I so just so I can get it on my camera. So Instagram, don't worry, we got plenty of cameras. But yeah,
Thank
but
God.
Yes. So you do not hate the LGBT community, and Turning Point is not against LGBT. No, how could I hate that which I have a heart for? Thank you. And I might not agree at that for some of the lifestyle choices that some people make. But of course not. And if someone said, Charlie, what's your view on marriage? I say, I believe marriage is between one man and one woman. But if you ask me, what do I have hate in my heart for somebody that doesn't choose the lifestyle that I believe that God laid out in the scriptures? Of course not. Yes, I was told that Turning Point USA is against LGBTQ. Well, you could be told a lot of different things. I know, it's all both.
Correct.
I rest my case. Thank you so much. God bless you, Charlie.
So, thank you.
Is that Erica again?
If anything, Charlie was too much of a bridge builder. I think it was good. I'm saying you can't say the opposite. That's my point. You can't say that somehow Charlie was exclusive and that he was a bigot. You cannot say that.
No, you can't. You know, I did hear that at one of his, maybe it was the day that he died, that there was they had a
father and a son?
Well, they had the LG.
Sure. Alphabet game.
Yeah, the alphabet flag, and it had a tent. And he told them they were pretty far, and he said, "Come on down.
Let's have a chat.
Come on down." So, if you think that because somebody doesn't see life the same way that you do and can have a friendly conversation with you, that's sad. It's just so sad.
It's vile. And it leads to us feeling like this. And I want to put up number 21, Mr. Producer, because it leads to people thinking this.
Now that it's starting to simmer down, I do just want to say, if they think that the celebration and reaction to Mr. Kirk's demise was bad and distasteful, just wait until the orange one catches one.
So just think about that. I don't know if you could make a case that is incitement. It's awfully close. It's awfully close. I don't think you can quite say that one was incitement, but that's where these people are going, and that's where they're living. We need to maybe take them seriously. They just killed one of ours. Maybe we need to take them seriously. And I think President Trump is taking the right direction. Mr. Producer, I want you to play clip 22 because this is his response to this.
I really shouldn't say it, but I think I've got to say it. The far right in our country doesn't exist yet. The far left, the Looney Tune Brigade, however, is quite real. Real as real gets, as serious as cancer. Cancer, not good. But people forget that I'm a moderate. Charlie was a moderate as well. But the psycho left has been poking a sleeping bear with sticks, calling the bear names, stealing the bear's wallet, and have actually begun shooting the bear. But this isn't an ordinary bear, folks. No. No, it's not. This, of course, is what scholars refer to as a metaphor. So, if I were a miserable lefty who hated my dad and thought John Oliver was a real looker, I'd pause here and ask myself, do I want to keep poking this bear, or do I want my face to be ripped off in a horrific bear accident?
Thank you. Can I just say I love our president?
I know.
I love that man.
I'm not so sure Charlie was a moderate, but
well, he's saying, look, at the end of the day, Charlie was not an extremist.
I think he was
That's
reasonable.
what he's trying to say. He's a reasonable man.
He's able to communicate with both sides. He's able to, we as Americans should be able to speak to people on both sides. We as Americans should love one another, but not the sin.
That's right.
I love, so Kinsey Wren just dropped this. I was going to talk about this, the proposed Charlie Kirk Act. And if you're following this on X, it's circling around at Further every day. We posted this. We're like, guys, please, at Donald Trump, the real Donald Trump on this. Hit him over and over and over and over again. It used to be illegal for the media to publish propaganda. You realize that? Do you know when that was, when that stopped?
I'm going to say Obama.
2012, during Obama. It used to be illegal for them to publish propaganda. They've been doing it ever since. And we've been living in an Orwellian nightmare. So, Kinsey Wren, thank you for dropping that, because I was absolutely going to put that in. 100% correct. Criminal media. Totally agree, War Child 20. Totally agree. That is that is the way forward. We need to redo Section 230. You're a platform or you're a publisher. Media, you can't publish propaganda. It has to comport with reality, or you have to be liable. You can't be just a publisher or just a media. Like, you have to have some, like, you're going beyond the pale. Donald Trump is not a Nazi. He is the freest Nazi. And Charlie Kirk, I guess I want you to have guns. I want you to be free. I want you to say what you want to say. That's not what the Nazis said. Can you imagine Hitler?
Give them guns.
Give them all guns.
I
want them all to have, no, that's not what Hitler said. No. He mocked the church. He used the church, and then he killed the pastors who stood up to him.
Yes.
If the church, when the church members wouldn't comply, when the pastors wouldn't comply, he Dietrich Bonhoeffered them.
Yep.
Okay? No. So it's verifiably false. It's verifiably false that Charlie Kirk is somehow a Nazi. It is way past the pale. way past. Like, I'm serious. It's ridiculous. It's parodic. But unfortunately, they're living with cartoon parody versions of reality, and then they come out shooting the left. They're living with this parody, this falsehood.
I think it's also lack of education. Not. I know they have college degrees and everything, but the fact that they can't have a friendly debate shows you the level of competency.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
they don't understand that we can disagree and still respect and love each other.
Yeah.
Correct. And so I would say that the government has this responsibility. How can I say that as a Christian? Well, that's really easy. When you understand the nature of the human condition, you realize that government is necessary. Cut number 23, Mr. Producer. Get this for me to Miss Nikki. This is Ezekiel 33:6.
But if the watchmen see the sword come, and blow not the trumpet, and the people be not warned, if the sword come and take any person from among them, he is taken away in his iniquity, but his blood will I require at the watchman's hand. Oh, that's
how can we as Christians believe that we have to put up a defense?
Yeah.
We have a right to self-defense. We have a right. In fact, the government has a duty to post watchmen on the wall, to see when evil is coming, to thwart it. That is something that we have. We know we have. Cut number 25, Mr. Producer. Luke, do you feel like you can read it from there?
All right.
Matthew 12:29.
Or else, how can one enter into a strong man's house and spoil his goods, except he first bind the strong man, and then he will spoil his house?
Jesus is talking right here. Christ is talking about the inner dwelling, the sanctum of the Spirit. But if we're already bound, like we will be taken over, we have to have a protection. In this verse, and you read the whole context of that, Jesus Christ is the man, the strong man that prevents Satan from coming into our soul. Scary thought. Demons are real and they do possess you. Jesus Christ is standing at the door, keeping the demons out. We are to be like, if we're Christians, we're little Christs. What's more Christ-like than keeping the demons out from harming the innocent people? That is what the government is supposed to do. That is what the government is supposed to be. And in Romans 13, 1 through 4, you'll see a full, I've got it abbreviated here. Go ahead and throw that up, Mr. Producer. It's going to be cut number 26. Let every soul be subject unto the higher powers, for he is a minister of God to thee for good, a revenger to execute wrath upon him that doeth evil. That is the definition of government. These people need to be held to account. They absolutely need to be held to account. We have a right to defense. We have a need to defense, and we need to start doing it. Trump is starting. I think he's going to start looking at it. The Charlie Kirk Act, guys, light that up on X. For at Further Every Day, you can find it in our feed. Someone, I think Kinsley Wren, put it in the live chat on D Live if you're watching this live. We need to start to hold the media accountable. We also need to start to focus on fixing Section 230. Free speech, free ideas need to be freely open. If YouTube is going to say, hey, we're a platform, stop curating your platform. It is not a platform. If you are curating it like a publisher, you are liable for every essay of a child, of every lie that is told on YouTube, every fallacy, every slander. You are guilty of it. Fix Section 230 so it looks like that either you were truly like the telephone company or electric company, or you're a publisher and you're liable. You're one or the other. You can't be both. These are actionable things that we can call our representatives this next week on. We can actually do something right now. As the regular laity, we can do that. We need to start. We need to push that. So, just my thoughts. Any other thoughts before we move on to something lighter? This has been a heavy topic.
I will say that from a Christian perspective, this has been very heavy for a lot of people. This week has been very heavy. But, you know, I've noticed it's also been very heavy for even some independents and not just the Christian realm, but people who are not even professing Christ. This has been heavy. And I think God is going to do an an amazing thing with it. One of the things I did see on YouTube last night was a gentleman came on. He said, well, now it's up to us. And he went through all these people who were saying, now I'm Charlie Kirk.
Yeah.
Now I'm Charlie Kirk. And it just went on and on and on. I'm Charlie Kirk. And what they were saying is, I'm going forward, and I'm going to speak my faith. I'm going to speak for my views. I'm not being quiet over this. I'm going to be bolder. I'm going to be stronger. And I want to keep one thing in mind. Charlie Kirk does not want you to set him up as an idol.
Correct.
Paul said, follow me as I follow Christ. And that's what I believe Charlie Kirk would want. Follow in his footsteps as he followed Christ. But remember, he's not what we're worshiping. It's what he did for Christ that we are wanting to do.
And he doesn't want vigilantism.
No.
I'm just going to say Charlie Kirk would never want vigilantism. He wants people to stand up in their faith and in truth and righteousness. So, any other thoughts, or are we moving on to something lighter?
We got one more thing here,
Go.
and please don't misunderstand me, because we as Christians believe it was terrible. It's demonic, the forces that went against Charlie Kirk. It's absolutely demonic. It is disgusting what the shooter did to him.
Yep.
But we as Christians also see that to live as Christ and to die as gain. And Charlie Kirk, Jesus will go up to him and say, well done, my good and faithful servant.
Indeed.
And for him to die as gain here, he has taken the persecution to his death, but now he's in heaven with God.
It's a very comforting thing. So, if you will stick around for a moment, we are going to get into some more of the demonic. We're going to get into some screw tape letters in just a little bit. But before we do, we wanted something uplifting, a little bit fun. We need a little bit of levity here and a little bit of joy, a little bit of fun. So we're going to go into a Ryan's song review.
Yay.
Cut 28. Mr. Producer, cut number 28.
Hold on.
You got this?
I got this. Just one.
You going to live? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. No aneurysms. All right.
Not
Go
today.
ahead. Cut 28.
Okay, cut 28. All right, so this week for song review, I'm sorry to burst your bubble a bit with John Arthur, but this is going to be a bit of a...
Oh, no. Go ahead.
That's why I asked you earlier if you had a chance to look at this. But,
Keep going.
This song popped up in my YouTube feed this week, and I was like, I think I know what song we're reviewing this week.
Oh, I don't believe in God. Okay. Well, okay, that's very much on theme. Keep going. So, sorry, guys, more depressing.
I thought it was a bit on theme. So, first off, a little bit about this person. Hannah Gray, she is a YouTuber who who does covers and original songs. And so let's dive into this here. Okay. And I didn't put any verse 1 or verse 2 or chorus anything because with this song, it was a bit unclear. It kind of just is a song that just kind of goes on. But it starts, while I was in a bar in Tennessee, a girl named Amy spoke to me and asked if I believed in God. Of all the things I could have said, I just stood and shook my head. Amy told me I was wrong. For a while, I didn't care. I shrugged it off. I left it there, because what's the point if I don't understand? Thoughts so far, everyone?
I don't know enough.
Usually, if you're in a bar, somebody's not usually witnessing to you about Christ in a bar. I thought that was kind of funny, but
au contraire, mon frere. That's how Ryan's parents met. They were involved in ministry, and they would go to bars and they would talk to youth.
My grandfather would walk into bars and start preaching the gospel. He would. I read his biography, and I was like, wow.
Could be very dangerous, but no.
Yeah.
Because you remember Duck Dynasty's Phil. He was in a bar, and anyway, his sister came in to witness, and people got kind of hostile with her.
Yeah, it'll happen. A case in point, we're talking about that kind of violence today. Keep going, Mr. Producer.
Okay. But then I see a crowded street preach against autonomy, voting with a Bible in their hand. And I ask, what about that is an all-loving love act? Despite the cold contradictions, you live your life like it's fact. You believe in a genderless God full of faith and love for us all.
What?
Yeah, exactly.
Keep going.
But in cement in the back of your head, it ain't the same for your genderless friend. So I ask, what about that is a part of God's loving plan? Explain the problem of evil in a man-hating man and our sacrifices, all the wars killing kids. I don't know what kind of heaven is worth all of this. If God is real, why do we fear our fears? Why do we grieve our friends if we will see them again? Oh, if God is there, why is life this unfair? Why aren't we herbivores? Why do we preach for peace and sermon roars?
Those are good questions. So why are we not herbivores? Well, that's because we have to. So we were talking about this actually in church. Part of the reason why, so there are no accidents. The reason why we hunger and we thirst is because there's the bread of life, and then there's a drink. Again, I'm a non-Catholic, non-Protestant, but if someone said Catholic, I was like, no. I'm currently fellowshipping at a Baptist church, but the Catholics aren't entirely wrong that there is a taking of the and if you disagree with me, that's fine. We can disagree. That's fine. But you are taking part of the essence of Christ. In essence, the Thomas Aquinas, Catholic theologian, great thinker, one of the best thinkers of the last couple of millennia, says Christ is present in essence but not in substance. So he didn't believe in transubstantiation as a physical thing, but rather we are becoming one with Christ when we take communion. Part of the first thing. What was the first death after the garden?
Abel?
Nope. Before that.
He killed the animals.
Killed the animals. Every time you eat meat, it should be a reminder that something gave its life for you, something innocent gave its life for you to sustain you. There's your question for the herbivore. Yeah, there's actually a reason for that. Because the world is unjust. Because free will exists. Because free will exists, and because not everyone is conformed to the image of God, there's evil. And one of the evils that befalls innocent animals is, as humans, we are built to eat meat. We need a lot of nutrients, and one of the best ways to get that is meat. By the way, I love a good steak. I'm not complaining. But before you think I'm some hippy dippy, I love my steaks. I'm gonna go smoke one tonight. Absolutely love my steaks. But you need to remember that an innocent animal died. That is an object lesson to give your children. That's why we don't waste meat. Something innocent died and was sacrificed so that you could eat. So that's one answer to her. But whether or not you believe in transubstantiation, we do become one flesh with Christ on some level, whether it's physical or not. And I'm not going to debate that one in the comment section, guys. Feel free to weapons free there. I'll leave you guys to that. But if there is a God, why is life unfair? Free will. Mm-hmm. Why do we preach for peace in sermon roars? Because there's something valuable. If God is real, why do we fear our fears? That's a good question. Anyone want to take a whack at that one? If God is real, why is there fear?
Well, because I think it's part of the journey in your walk with the Lord. Everybody has a fear, and you have to learn to give that over to the Lord, and that's a journey to do that.
Yep.
I have a granddaughter right now that is suffering from, if I can get these initials, CPRS, and that is chronic pain. But there's no injury, but she has chronic pain, and it's going to cost a lot of money to go to Minnesota. There's not very many doctors that know how to treat it, and it's been going on for 1.5 years. And yes, I'm very fearful. I'm fearful for her, for the pain that she's in all the time. I'm fearful for her for psychologically. When you're in pain constantly, you're only 14 years old, and you've gone through this for a long time. I do have a lot of fear for her.
Yeah.
And I have to give that over to the Lord. And
I'd say that's concern. There's a difference between fear and concern.
Yeah, and some things yeah.
So
Okay.
King's Kid 1775 says this, and this is where I'm going. This is where I'm going with this. Fear, he says fear is a sin. Fear is a lack of faith is actually a sin. There's concern and there's fear. There's a mental, okay, I am concerned with this. How do we resolve? Right? And that's real. But a fear, and this is my response to this young lady, is that fear is a lack of understanding of who holds you together. And Nancy DeMoss Wakamuth, if you're not familiar with her ministry, Nancy DeMoss Wakamuth, absolutely fantastic female evangelist, 2 women, 4 women. If you're the sort that believes that no woman can teach at all, I'd point you to Deborah. I tend to lean, though, that we need to avoid female over all the church pastors. I believe that is typically supposed to be a male space. But if there's no good males, the Deborah will arise. However, over women's ministries, Revive Our Hearts, she put something out one time and I heard it and I was like, oh my gosh, because it was on the radio. I heard it, I said, oh my gosh, that's convicting. She says, she went to fret not against the Lord. And she went into the crisis of faith. And she goes, whenever I'm fretting against God, it's not a terribly great exegesis, but the truth is there. When I'm fretting against God, I am elevating myself above God, saying, I see the concern better than you do, God. How are you going to fix it? And you're calling God to fix the problem because he's not taking care of it yet. Not fast enough for you.
Yeah.
So I needed to fix. So when you're fretting or when you're fearing, it's actually, to answer this woman's question, you fear because you are in sin. That's why. And we all are. And we all do it on some level at some time. And that's not a bad thing. But then I see Crowded Street preach against autonomy, voting with a Bible in their hand. And then I ask, is an loving love act. So love is love is what I'm reading out of that. Is that what you're reading, Mr. Producer? Love is love?
Some lines I'm like not quite sure what's
because it's
saying.
But love is love. No, love is not love. Love is defined, and there is a definition, and it is in the Corinthians. Actually, you have a good definition of love. It seeks the best, does not easily anger. It is something that is purifying and transformative. Love is not friction in certain places of your body with certain partners. Hate to be graphic, but that's not what love is. That is you satisfying a carnal desire, whether good, bad, or indifferent. That is what that is. That is not love. So that is, people need to realize that. Any other thoughts on the song? I kind of jumped in there.
No, that's okay.
I didn't know if you were going somewhere or if you wanted me to just jump.
No, but you pretty much covered everything I was trying to get at there. Because
these are songs. So why do we cover these songs? Because these songs are in our ears. You guys.
Well, one, it shows us where the culture's at.
Correct. You guys were spared this week. Mr. Producer didn't submit his song review yet to me, so I was going to have us review Tears, which is graphic and horrible. It is WAP-like material. Why would a Christian read that? It's number 9 on the charts. Like it or not, we have to deal with it. It's in our culture. Kids are hearing it. I have people come up to me and they ask me, what do I think about this? I need to have a response. I need to know. Also, I need to know what that catchy song is on the radio and maybe not sing it. So, by the way, the tears streaming down my thigh, I'll let you think about what that is. So I'm glad you had this one. This one was much better. Sabrina Carpenter is a really good writer, but the songs are really, really disgusting. Anyway, this one, who was this written by one more time?
YouTuber Hannah Gray.
Hannah Gray. So that's been song review by Ryan and Company. So moving on, unless you got one more thing.
It's like Oliver and Company.
Like Oliver and Company, Ryan and Company. Yep. It's Ryan and Company.
Sorry. Okay.
Moving on to the next one. So get us our Cut 34. This is now the book corner. We're going to finish out with the Screw Tape Letters. Remember, I promised to get to the more demonic, if that was possible. The Screw Tape Letters is written by C.S. Lewis in the 1940s. Let's go to the overview. cut number 35. The Screwtape Letters are a series of correspondence between two demons, Screwtape, the elder mentor, and his apprentice Wormwood. In these correspondence, Screwtape encourages Wormwood in how to tempt Wormwood's human patient, the young man living in World War II era Britain. In this thread of conversation, Lewis explores the base temptations of man and how Satan and his tempters may indeed think about our own existence and how they may work to tempt the souls of men. Today's passage, we're going to finish up the law of undulation. So if you can go ahead and carry me over to cut number 38, Mr. Producer. We'll go to 38. We'll start. My dear Wormwood, I hope my last letter has convinced you that the trough of dullness or dryness through which your patient is going at present will not, of itself, give you his soul, but needs to be properly exploited. What forms of exploitation should I take, I will now consider. In the first place, I have always found that the trough periods of the human undulation provide excellent opportunity for all sensual temptations, particularly those of sex. This may surprise you, because of course there is more physical energy and therefore more potential appetite at peak periods, but you must remember that the powers of resistance are also at their highest. What is he saying here? He's saying during the trough period, not during the valley experience and not the mountaintop spiritual experience, is where you're going to find your highest peak of temptation. Why is that?
Well, there's a place in the Bible that Paul says, Lord, revive my heart. Everybody gets, you can call it the doldrums, you can call it just a place where there's not a lot of exciting things happen. And the human body responds to rewards or excitement or whatever. And so that's why it becomes a dangerous place. What are you doing with your mind? What are you doing with your actions? So it's a very good proposition by Screwtape.
It's the time, and it's when you're tired. It's when
Yes.
you're weary.
Yes.
That your defenses are low.
Mm-hmm.
That's the worst part of your life. They're the best part for him to tempt. So, if you continue, Mr. Producer, the health and spirits which you want to use in producing lust can also, alas, be very easily used for work or play or thought or innocuous merriment. The attack has a much better chance of success when the man's whole inner world is drab, cold, and empty. And it is also to be noted that the trough sexuality is subtly different in quality from that of the peak, much less likely to lead to the milk and water phenomenon, which humans call being in love, much more easily drawn into perversions, much less contaminated by those generous and imaginative and even spiritual contaminants, which often render human sexuality so disappointing. It is also the same with other desires of the flesh. What Screwtape is referring to is, what is every sin, Mr. Producer? Or Luke, what is sin always? A perversion of what?
The truth?
Something godly.
Something natural. Something godly. Something God-given. It's always a perversion of something natural. Something good. Something that God has given. When you're tired, when you're weary, when you're angry about someone that you respect being shot in public, that is when temptation is at its highest. That is when you are most likely to fall into vices and sin. Just a quick note, just a little bit of notice for everyone watching this. I'm going to say something. I came to church on Wednesday night, and my pastor was speaking, and he said really well, he says, I could be angry like that. I could go down a dark rabbit hole, and I could become so angry. But if I do that, I'm going to forget what Charlie Kirk lived for, who he served, what he taught. Instead of getting angry, I need to get committed to sharing the gospel, to being a part, to being a change of the world around me. I could be festering in anger over something I can't change, or I could recommit to the values and to Christ, into my salvation, into everything else. What are you going to do? Are you going to become bitter, or are you going to become resolved? As for me, I am resolved more than ever. And I'll put this one note about Charlie Kirk. The difference between Stephen and Paul, for those who are saying we're called to be martyrs, we are. The difference between Stephen and Paul is Paul had legal recourse. He would have been martyred by the Jews, by the temple Jews. They would have killed him. But he said, "Is it lawful for you to beat a Roman citizen like this?" He used his legal recourse. And in doing so, he saved his life so that he could have a ministry. It wasn't just for his own life. He didn't go off and live in a cave some far away. No. He was used by God in his ministry. Stephen, like Charlie Kirk, had no choice. So he died with the gospel on his lips and a smile on his face towards the people who were killing him. Both were called to do either or, depending on what we have. If we have legal recourse, we must push legal recourse. If we are to be taken the way Stephen was, Charlie Kirk was, we need to be taken doing God's will. Don't be tempted to fall into a lust for vengeance. Vengeance is God's. Sign that over to him. We have work to do. God will do his. Next cut, Mr. Producer. All we can do is to encourage the humans to take pleasure which our enemy has produced at times, or in ways or in degrees which he has forbidden. Hence, we will always try to work away from the natural condition of any pleasure to that in which it is least natural, least redolent of its maker, and least pleasurable. I'm thinking about homosexual sex here, just saying. And an ever-increasing craving for an ever-diminishing pleasure is the formula. It is more certain and it's better style to get the man's soul and to give him nothing in return. That is what really gladdens our Father's heart. Talking about Satan. And the troughs are the time for beginning this process. Do you catch what he's saying? The goodness of God. They can't. Satan can't replicate anything good. He can only steal.
Right.
He can only twist. It's important to remember. Mr. Producer, continue. But there is an even better way of exploiting the trough. I mean, through the patient's own thoughts about it. As always, the first step is to keep knowledge out of his mind. Do not let him suspect the law of undulation changes. Let him assume that the first ardors of his conversion might have been expected to last and ought to have lasted forever, and that his present dryness is an equally permanent condition. Having once gotten this misconception well fixed in his head, you may then proceed in various ways. It all depends on whether your man is of the desponding type, who can be tempted to despair, or of the wishful thinking type, who can be assured that all is well. Now, undulation. We covered that last week when I wasn't here. What is the law of undulation?
Oh, you...
Peaks.
Yes.
Troughs. Peaks. Troughs.
Typical life.
Typical life.
Mm-hmm.
Had someone one time say, "Oh, things were going so well, and now they're so bad, and I just don't know if I can handle." Welcome to the human race.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Welcome to the human race. We all have these highs and these lows.
You know, I had a lady. At one time, she was my friend. I wouldn't call her my friend today, but she came to the church, and she always hung out with people that had God was doing something in their life, and it was very evident. And then when it was over, she'd find somebody else. But she never had anything in her own life where God was doing something great. And then when a great trial came, she left the church and never returned. Can't ride on the coattails.
You can't ride on the coattails. And it's like we covered the great divorce. People will choose what they will choose.
Mm-hmm.
They will do what they will do. But Satan will tempt. And so going on a little bit further, Screw Tape is going to now delineate between those who are very optimistic versus the pessimistic sort. So the former type is getting rare among humans. If your patient should happen to belong to it, everything is easy. You have only got to keep him out of the way of experienced Christians, an easy task nowadays, to direct his attention to the appropriate passages in Scripture, and then set him to work on the desperate design of recovering his old feelings by sheer willpower, and the game is ours. If he is of the more hopeful type, your job is to make him acquiesce in the present low temperature of his spirit and gradually become content with it, persuading himself that it is not so low after all. In a week or two, you will be making him doubt whether the first days of his Christianity were not perhaps a little excessive. Talk to him about moderation in all things. If you can get him to the point of thinking that religion is all very well up to a point, you can feel quite happy about his soul. A moderated religion is as good for us as no religion at all, and more amusing. Aren't we called to not talk about politics and religion at Thanksgiving? Aren't we called to be good little Christians and be separated from church and state?
Mm-hmm.
Who's calling us to do that? Just a thought.
Right. Right.
Just a thought. Any other thoughts? Have you ever thought about or asked the Lord, I want revival and I want it to look just like my conversion? Have you ever thought about that?
I have not.
I've wanted that. I have prayed. I've said, Lord, you could transform me like you did at my conversion. And he doesn't.
Yeah.
You know why he doesn't? I have to actually work on it, and I have to be content with the dry spells, with the troughs.
You have to remember God is still doing something in the dry periods.
Correct.
That is the, in the Old Testament where they would use the land for 7 years and let it rest.
Correct.
Sometimes in that rest period is a good growing period.
It only is good growing because things die. And,
Yes.
and after those things die and there's death and decay, the decay leaves new fertile soil
That's right.
for regrowth.
Right, right. So if you take your downtime and your tired time and you apply some meditation in there on the past of what God has done, some scripture, it get you to where you need to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I don't know, Ryan, maybe you've never felt that. Have you ever felt that? You ever said, Lord, I want to be new like I was when I was first saved?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember the sheer ecstasy of being a new believer, and I miss it.
Me too.
But there's a reason why you there's milk and there's meat. Right now, you need to grow up. You need to you need to chew into the meat, and that takes work. And work is hard. We don't like work. Next cut, Mr. Producer. Another possibility is that of direct attack on his faith. When you have caused him to assume that the trough is permanent, can you not persuade him that his quote-unquote religious phase is going to just die away like all the previous phases? Of course, there is no conceivable way of getting by reason from the proposition, I'm losing interest in it, to the proposition, this is false. But as I said before, it is jargon, not reason you must rely on. Redefining terms. Anyway, the mere word phase will likely do the trick. I assume that the creature has been through several of them before. They all have. And that he always feels superior and patronizing to the ones he's emerged from, not because he's really criticized them, but because they are in the past. You ever been through a phase? You ever sat there and looked back and said, I'm glad I'm through that phase of life?
Oh, absolutely. When you're my age, you certainly do, yes.
And that's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good thing. But be careful that you don't allow the enemy of our souls to rebrand, redefine terms. That's what the left likes to do. Rebrand terms. Kind of like their father. I'm just saying. That is the ideological father, is Satan. And that's what Jesus was saying when he said, you are like your father, the devil. We all have that father starting. It is Christ whom we are adopted through him, and God our Father when we are saved. Only then are we children of God. But just to finish, you will keep him well fed on hazy ideas of progress and development and the historical point of view, I trust, and give him lots of modern biographies to read. The people in them are always emerging from phases, aren't they? You see the idea. Keep his mind off the plain antithesis between true and false. Nice, shadowy expressions. It was a phase. I've been through all of that. And don't forget the blessed word, adolescent. Your affectionate uncle, Screwtape. Final thoughts for the day.
Well, I'm going to go back to the big thing that has been on my mind all week since Charlie Kirk's assassination was what my friend posted. My faith manages my politics. And I think we should have a resolve. But if you want to have a good testimony, understand your faith, study your faith, understand politics. I think what we're doing with the Federalist Papers is very important because it's not being taught.
Correct.
And people, don't you love it when the left are saying, this is against the Constitution, this is against the, and I'm like, what are you reading? You don't even know the Constitution. So, but they can get away with it because nobody knows the Constitution.
Correct.
That's the problem. So, study and learn and grow in your faith and let that manage your politics and be smart about it.
Correct. Luke.
We lost a great man, and it's whether or not you think of him more as a conservative or Christian, he stood for the truth.
Amen.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why he was killed.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's why he was killed. Mr. Producer, any thoughts?
Friday night, I was at a Bible study, and some of us know him here, Pastor Scott Powers. I was talking with him about the Charlie Kirk situation, and I was talking about how I was seeing some of these videos of people being so happy about Charlie Kirk's death.
Ghoulish.
At first, it gets me very angry, but then stop and think for a minute, and it makes me very sad for those people because God is coming.
God is coming.
These are people that are like held captive by their sin. They are blinded. They love themselves, pleasure, they just don't see, they don't understand. These are the people we need to reach, even though they make us sick. Even Charlie Kirk's assassinator, a shooter, they still need to be reached.
Correct. And we were once in such a state.
Yes.
We were once in such a state. And so we need to remember that we need to be about the business of our Father, not their Father. We need to make sure that we're moving. Just real quick, I wanted to read a couple of statements before I close. Some folks wanted to pop in on their conversion experience. This is 76 red pills. I want to know when this fuzzy wuzzy feel good stuff will get real and we can start kicking ASS like the Crusaders. It's funny. J-Lac, I don't ever ask or expect that experience, ask that experience to be glorious like. I remember the first 90 days, I was crazy, says King's Kid 7075. J-Lac, I was walking around smiling and singing certain praise songs in tongues over and over again on Cloud 9, felt like heaven. Yeah, your first conversion experience when you were saved can be amazing. For some people, they feel the burden lifted off. I think the reason, and I don't know for sure, but I think the reason why we don't experience that all the time is because Lewis put it really well. He says, would not a God who is in no need of it, but was capable of bravery, holding up under pressure. He could be questioned, he could be tortured in front of the Sanhedrin and not crack. Would a God who had those personality traits not desire to be in eternity with other people, although they didn't have to be brave. They didn't have to be strong individuals who were capable of going through persecution without cracking. Would that God not want to be with such people? If you're enjoying the ecstasy of the new creation, that new birth, that is a good thing. But the troughs come so that we can know what it is to be without the goodness, the joy, the ecstasy of God. And hopefully we cling closer to him.
Yeah.
Hopefully we grow to be more like him in those moments. Charlie Kirk went through this life. He went through persecution. More than I, maybe less than some, but he went through persecution and he paid the ultimate price. Pretty high. Pretty much up there. Why did God let this happen to Charlie Kirk? Don't know exactly. But what I will say, God in his sovereignty knew, and frankly, I think we're starting to see some of the good already occur. I'll just leave you with this one point, and I'll say this. Nate Saint. Why did a man like Nate Saint have to die? You remember the story of Nate Saint? His wife carried on his mission after he was killed by the cannibals.
Yes.
That she ministered to.
Elizabeth and Jim Elliot.
Jim Elliot.
Yes.
Jim Elliot and Elizabeth Elliot was the one who ultimately carried. So Jim Elliot and Nate Saint, they died so that the women in their lives would have the ministry to change an unreached people group.
They opened a door. Now, I will say this. Samson killed more of the enemy in his death than in his living. Charlie Kirk probably just killed more of the enemy in his death than he did his living.
I totally agree, because I'm seeing people turn around. In my lineup, I didn't get all of them. There were a bunch of people saying, I'm leaving the Democrat Party today. I'm done.
Oh,
I'm done.
There's a massive young people that are joining the Republican Party. There's a mass of people that I think 36,000 applications have come in for chapter to start a chapter on a university with Turning Point.
Yep.
This is a new beginning.
People are going to change if we can make sure that we take the resolve and move forward.
Yes. Yes.
His death will not be in vain.
And remember, Paul held the robe of Stephen as they killed him. And then God raised up Paul, who wrote most of the New Testament. You have no idea who could rise up.
Yes.
Charlie Kirk plowed the way, and he plowed it for many years on his own.
Correct.
On his own.
Since he was 18.
Yes.
Dude has been working. He and I are the same age.
Yeah. And he's already paved the road for the next generation to rise up and take his place. It's going to be easier.
It has to be. And so AZ Patriot 17 said this. It said, no mention at all or anything to do with Charlie Kirk at my church today. I'd ask your pastor why, and I would very carefully critique his response. If your pastor does not have a good response, find a new church. I don't say that lightly. I've been at the church where I'm at. I've had disagreements with different pastors over the years. I've been at the church where I'm at for 10 years, 11 years. And there were lots of times I thought about leaving, but because I was called to be there and ultimately biblical truth was being shared, previous pastor I had, different thoughts with, different times. Current pastor, really big fan of. But if there was no mention of the most prolific martyr of this year, ask your pastor why. Ask him why. And if he does not give you a good response, I would consider finding a Bible-believing church that is plugged into the current day's events. That is the milquetoast Christianity we need to get rid of. I say that very cautiously. I say that in love. I don't hate any pastor that fails to share, but I will say that I don't think that they should be pastoring if they're not willing to mention the days and the evil days that we're in. Consider that. Our pastor called a prayer meeting. My pastor, he had a prayer meeting, and we all got down on our knees and prayed. That's the kind of, for a martyr in our nation, we need to be thinking that way, and we need our churches to think that way. So with that said, thank you so much. We got nothing else for you. Have a beautiful week.